Welcome back to Cindy's Library. I am Cindy, and today I am going to talk about the books that I read for the second half of the month of April. So let's get to it. Oh, I got diverted a bit, and I read Mrs. Harris, or Miss Harris Goes to Paris, which was absolutely adorable. This is by Paul Gallico. So, Mrs. Harris, she is a London charwoman. She cleans people's homes for a living. But one day in one of her wealthy clients' homes, she sees a J.R.R dress, possibly the most prestigious fashion house in Paris. And she decides she has to have one. And so this is, I want to say, early 1950s, maybe? Something like that. Not too long after World War II, but long enough that when she gets to Paris, everything is normal, so to speak, and looks normal. But she scrimps and saves and finds her way in Paris with the determination she's going to come home with a J.R.R dress. And it's about her adventures there. Completely and utterly adorable. I recently watched the movie as well, which was also adorable. Definitely some things that are different. Couple of plot lines are expanded on. Couple are added, and one is only minimally referenced. So, interesting. Very sweet, highly recommended. This also has Mrs. Harris Goes to New York. Haven't read that one yet, but I'll have to put it on my list because if it's anything like the first one, I'm sure I'll love it too. Let's see, I finished The Small House at Ellington by Anthony Trollope. Took a while to get into, but so worth it. I did a full review of this, so I will link to that in the notes below. Hopefully I'll remember to do that. Let's see, I finished Tamara Pierce Page. This is the second in the Protector of the Small Quartet by Tamara Pierce. So, in the first book, we have young Kel, who at the beginning of that was 10 years, decides she wants to be a knight. Well, she has survived her first year, and she has even received permission to continue her training as a page. And so she does that for the next 3 years in this book. And she and her friends grow up. Many of the same friends, same enemies, some new friends. I guess you can't say exactly there's really new enemies, specific ones at least. And so can't tell you much more beyond that, except that Kel is a great character. I love her. See, I read my first Miss Marple finally, The Murder at the Vicarage. So, there in the village of I want to say St. Mary Mead, where the eponymous vicar who does live at the vicarage live, you have Uh, this colonel, he is loud and obnoxious. No one really likes him, not even his family. Well, one evening he is discovered dead in the vicarage, in the vicar's library slash office, actually. And so it is the question of who did it. Like I said, no one really liked the colonel, and there are many possibilities. Hmm. There is his wife, who we discover is having an affair with the artist, or vice versa. There is uh, possibly the vicar or his curate, both of whom he has very much annoyed by wanting to go over accounts. Um, there is Colonel's daughter, who is very estranged from both her father and her stepmother. And there is the archaeologist in the town and his secretary, newcomers, who may or may not be more than they seem. Um, there is the vicar's servant, who was the only one supposedly at home at the time. You get the idea. Now, St. Mary Mead is known for one thing: it is having a ton of old spinsters, including, of course, Miss Marple, who is the nicest grandma-ish type person and who can see through human nature in a flash. So this is from the point of view of the vicar, and he has many conversations with the people of the village, some suspected, others perhaps not quite so much, and with the inspector, etc., and also, of course, many with Miss Marple, who, well, in some cases he isn't as quite as eager uh, for her ideas, but on the other hand, she's always right. Always listen to Miss Marple. See, I also read The Grace of Wild Things by Heather Fawcett, which I absolutely adored and did a full review of, so I'll have to link that below. Short version is the twist on Anne of Green Gables, a witchy fairy tale-ish twist. Let's see. Then I read Life to the Whole Being, the spiritual memoir of a literature professor by Matthew Wickman. And this, I enjoy reading these about journeys of faith and struggles of faith and coming out on top. And this one is particularly enjoyable because he connects it to literature. I think in each chapter, aside with telling about experiences he's gone through and conclusions, even if they're more temporary conclusions that he's come up with, has he references literature, which is quite enjoyable. So this is part of the Living Faith series, I believe. So, and then I reread The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Full review coming up here shortly. Of course I love it. It's Tolkien. and its fairy tale. What more do you need to know? So, let's double check here. Make sure I did not miss anything important. Oh, I said I was going to be reading Idylls of the King, which I didn't, but I did read The Lady of Shalott, which I quite enjoyed. What can I say? The Megan Follows 80s Anne of Green Gables turned me on to that back when I was a teenager. And I also read The Code of the Woosters by P.G. Wodehouse. So, in this case, we have Wooster and Jeeves. Wooster is perfectly happy in his flat in London with Jeeves, his manservant, taking care of everything. But Aunt Dahlia comes over to consult with him. It seems she wants money for her woman's magazine, I believe it is. So she needs to get her husband in a good mood. Now, he was going to be in a good mood because he collects silver. And he found this silver cream jug in the shape of a cow that he wanted. Due to circumstances, he wasn't able to get it, and a rival collector got it before him, and he's very upset. And so his aunt wants him to go to the country estate of this rival collector to get the cream jug somehow. The rival collector is also a magistrate of whom Bertie has also run afoul with in the past. He also gets an SOS from his friend Gussie, who is having problems with his fiancée Meredith, whose father is the rival collector. So, Bertie, in the end, feels he is obligated to leave his comfortable flat for this country resident of this rival collector who he doesn't even really like, to help his friend fix up his engagement. And things just spin wildly out from there. With one thing after another. But Bertie, everything comes right for him in the end. Mostly, of course, thanks to Jeeves. Of course it's thanks to Jeeves. That's kind of Jeeves's purpose in life, is to make everything better by the end. And somehow he always manages to do that. Very funny. I think I listened to Proto Jeeves and Wooster once. Perhaps a short story, but this is my first full Jeeves and Wooster. Very enjoyable. Probably be reading more sooner or later. Anyway, you read any of these books? How was your April reading? So, feel free to let me know down in the comments. So, thank you so much for stopping by. Truly do appreciate it. So until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.